Hi, very warm welcome. I'm going to just play this clip for you. You've probably already seen it, some of you. It's a swarm of drones, but I know a lot of people are saying it's something else. But what you can see is it looks like they're going into the sea. It's just an interesting formation. What somebody's done is link, 12 drones up to a computer program, and it's just running through, the program, because people think that these are UFOs. They think that they're from Iran. I've seen lots of hysteria over this, and it's just someone playing a prank. I mean, there's you can have a look on YouTube. Somebody has got something like, I think it was 10,000 or over 10,000 drones, and they literally did graphics, real good graphics with those 10,000 drones changing colour just like the pixels do on your TV. And they was producing massive images. I know some people will say this could be the beginnings of, Project Bluebeam. I don't think it is. But what I will say is large quantities of drones flying around is going to pose serious threats to commercial aircraft, as there is already, I think, on one media, I think it might be X, I'm not sure, of a drone literally going through the engine cowl of a Boeing 737, I think it was. And of course the plane had to make an emergency landing after it, but you could see that they were saying that it was a bird strike. First of all, the person that's doing the video of this object flying into the engine cowl as the plane had just took off is videoing it at night time. And they said it was a bird strike, and I think you would agree with me, there aren't many birds that fly around on the night. But what you do see is a massive flash come out the engine cowl as soon as the object goes into it, and that was probably the battery exploding on the drone, because I think it is a drone, it's not a bird strike, but it just demonstrates the danger of this. And I think what all the hype and hysteria is about at the moment is they've obviously brought it to the public's attention in the United States. They did it here as well, because we had 3 military bases that belonged to America that was invaded by drones, and they couldn't track them, or they didn't know where they'd come from. But what I think this is leading to is a ban on private drone use. That's what they're going to do, or they're going to regulate it a lot more than what they do. Because of these incidents that are occurring more frequently. And of course it's stirred up a lot of hysteria over in the States, particularly in New Jersey, but now these drones are being seen in many other states. And some reports are saying that they're as large as cars, but I really don't think that that is the case. Something else I wanted to talk to you about, because the world is in a right mess at the moment, guys. It completely is. Let's look at what happened last week. I've done 2 videos. First of all, when this story broke in New Jersey about these car size or SUV size drones flying about New Jersey, I did a video, and then I thought, what, I'm going to remain a grey man on this. But then I thought, after seeing this particular footage, I thought, it's obvious what it is to me, is that somebody has linked multiple drones up, and this is being executed by a computer program. So one computer, just like we saw in that Guinness World Record being broken in China, where they'd linked 10,000 drones up to a single computer. This is just a very poor version of that, and a demonstration. And it's just trying to capture your attention. But I wanted to talk about Ukraine war. Why don't the media talk about all these things which are going on at the moment in a more truthful and unbiased way? And I'll just explain what I mean by that. The war now in Ukraine has been going on for over, a few years now. It's into its 3rd year. And what Russia set out to achieve, they've did it. They have got their land border across Ukraine now. And they have their buffer zone. So why would, other than just to keep funding the military complex, why would NATO keep supplying Ukraine more weapons to keep this going, because you know what, the only thing that's happening now, guys, now is that civilians are dying, just like what we've seen in Gaza. So, you know, Russia has won the Ukraine battle, and they have achieved every objective they set out to do, but the media won't talk about it. And why is that? Why won't they just be honest? I mean, at the end of the day, NATO countries have squandered not only life unnecessarily. This could have been avoided, guys. If you dig into this, you'll find that what I'm saying is correct. It could have been avoided, this war, and there could have been, you know, an established negotiation before it even started, but NATO didn't want it. So my point is this, you know, lots of money, I'm talking trillions of our taxpayers' money, has been squandered on something that achieved no results whatsoever, other than the loss of life and, you know, the funding of the global military complexes. It's wrong, because what could have that money been better spent on? You know, it's just like the money that is being wasted on electric vehicle industries right now, and it's bankrupting companies. Take a look at Volkswagen, take a look at Mercedes, and they're just two off the top of my head. You know, this blaming of CO2, not H2O, blaming of CO2 is destroying the industries globally. And it doesn't need to be done. We saw last week the massive failure of these eco-green technologies like solar panels and wind turbines just literally be torn to bits by, you know, a modest storm here in the UK, costing tens of thousands, if not millions of pounds worth of damage. And what do we get out of it anyhow? What do we actually achieve? I'll tell you, we achieve on a good day probably 9% of our energy being generated by, you know, these so-called green technologies. It's failing. But what more so is happening is if we just divert our attention to Gaza and what's happened there, the loss of lives. You know, let's just see what has happened in the media over the last month, or not even a month. We've had an arrest warrant for Netanyahu be issued by the International Criminal Court, and we've seen countries refusing to uphold that arrest. And yet, he has obviously committed war crimes. And, you know, he has absolutely ignited the Middle East. Israel at the moment is at war with Palestine, or the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, the Houthis, Lebanon, now Syria collapsing, and then, you know, you've got Iran and other countries. Just the loss of lives and the changing of policies and politics in those regions of the Middle East over the last 25 years has been horrendous. They got rid of Saddam Hussein, they got rid of so-called Osama bin Laden, they got rid of Bashar Assad in Syria, and then, you know, they got rid of Gaddafi in Lebanon. You know, they are doing exactly what that general said they was going to do. Remember when I can't remember his name now. Is it Petraeus? I'm not sure. But he comes back and he says, "Oh, it's, you know, this situation's got much worse now. We're not just going to war with Iraq. We've got 7 other countries on this list, and those ones that we're going to go to war with. They want to change, you know, through using the CIA, the policies in the Middle East." And that's exactly what they've done. And they have did it at the extortionate cost to the taxpayers globally. Not just you guys over in America, you know, not just us here in the UK or the rest of Europe, but globally. And from what I can see is that there isn't just simply enough being done with all these things now. I'm getting sick to death. I literally am getting sick to death of watching all this happen, and the same old, same old. Nothing ever changes. Just look at Sir Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister. Look at his response. If you don't like it, clear off. That's what he told us to do. It's unbelievable, the recklessness of these world leaders. He is selling the UK out to BlackRock. He would rather, and he said this in statements, he would rather, discuss international affairs with BlackRock than he would at Westminster, where he's supposed to be discussing them. So, make of that what you want, but nothing ever changes, and that's what sickens me. And I don't usually like to talk about politics, because I will say this, I'm 51 years old now, but I will tell you now, in the last 35 years of just observing this sad state of leadership, nothing has changed. Nothing's getting better. How can we be in a worse situation in 2024 than what we was in the 1900s, in the 1990s? How can we be, having advanced with all this technology around us, be in a complete worse situation than what we was 35, 40 years ago? And doesn't it make you angry that that is actually the case? I think it's a real sad time that we're all living in right now. And, people are giving up. It's destroying it's destroyed the middle class. Do you remember when you used to, on your shopping list, have meat? And for how many of you are, out there listening to this right now, have actually experienced, the international poverty crisis that is globally occurring right now? The economic crisis is not related to just one country. It's like all of the countries that were third world, I'm talking about actually the Western countries, are becoming first world countries. We're seeing poverty levels right now which were more associated to the Victorian times. We're talking people that was 100 years ago living in the UK, and the same levels of poverty are what we are experiencing right now as what they did. Nothing changes. I ask myself a lot of questions. Why is this being allowed to happen? And why are we not doing nothing about it? And the only thing I can think of is we have been pacified gradually over time. Because if yesterday was the 1990s, and we came from yesterday to today, 2024, and experienced the shock of the change that has happened, we would definitely do something about it. We would be holding these tyrannical governments around the world to account. And these absolute psychopathic maniacs that run our countries today, we would send them to some form of justice over their actions. But because we've been slowly brought up to the boil, we're not reacting to it. But for some people that are listening to this right now, they have already experienced a collapse in their life where it has left them probably, they might still be in that situation now where nothing is getting any better, and they have lost literally everything. And it would seem more natural for the nature of our planet, when we look at anomalies like hurricanes, tornadoes, flash floods and things like that, it would be more realistic to accept those sort of anomalies taking place and affecting people on bigger numbers than what it would do to accept how these governments are treating their citizens. So, have a look up the word tyrannical. Do a Google search and see what comes back, and ask yourself, does that description fit the government that you've got right now? And I just want to, if I can, ask you to search up one other thing on Google or any other search engine that you might be using. What is the definition of slavery? And ask yourself, is, in some cases right now, your life an image of slavery because of the quality of your life? And if the answer to these questions is yes, then surely the logical thing that an intelligent being would do would be respond to some of these things. Because if our politicians like Sir Keir Starmer has the attitude, if you don't like it, you can clear off, then we should adopt that same mentality. If you don't change, you can clear off. And we should. Like we would, and I know most good people would do this, if they saw a young lady being raped by a rapist and they had the ability to pull him off her, they would do absolutely the right thing and pull that dirty little git off that girl or woman. We wouldn't allow it to happen. So why do we allow people like Keir Starmer the opportunity to do it to treat its citizens in just the same vulgar and barbaric manner? And then why do we allow the rest of the world leaders to do that? I think you'll agree with me on this, every world leader around the world should have respected the wishes of the International Court and said, if Netanyahu comes to our country, we will honour that arrest warrant and we will make that arrest. Because otherwise, if we do not set precedents with international courts, then what precedents are we going to set with our own court systems in our own countries? So I'm going to leave it on that note. Only other thing is, you know what, guys, it's Christmas. We're going to do the Earth Alpha at a glance over the next few days for you guys, and we will be doing another one of the positioning of magnetic North Pole. But what I wanted to mention is, we've probably raised less than £25 this month. And, I do appreciate the patrons, I really do. But I just can't understand why people won't support what we do on this channel a bit more. I just don't understand it. Because I'm sure you'll agree that I am talking about the right things. And when it comes down to things that I can do something about it, I do my best. There isn't another channel with, equipment to monitor the position of the magnetic North Pole on YouTube, and I haven't come across another observatory like ours on the internet. So, in our own right, we are unique, and we are doing more than just talking the talk. We actually are walking the walk. So, if I could, just mention the link down there in the description and ask for a few more of our brothers and sisters to get behind us and support us at a real difficult time this year, which is right now. And the only other thing for me to say, guys, is I know it's hard, but try not to be pacified by the evils in the world, because I'm pretty sure that doing nothing and accepting this behaviour is just as bad as committing the acts of which these heinous leaders commit. So take care of your loved ones, as always. Bye for now.